violent repression of small-scale protests about social and economic grievances, which turned them into something close to a mass uprising by the Shia community. Iran and its proxies were blamed for the death of more than 500 protesters and injuries to 15,000 others. Demonstrators chanting anti-Iranian slogans burned the Iranian consulates in the Shia holy cities of Karbala and Najaf. Later, the same month in Lebanon, vast crowds filled the streets of Beirut, demanding an end to a political status quo that Hezbollah, Iran's local ally, had fought for decades to create. In Iran itself, the government ruthlessly suppressed November protests over fuel price rises. According to Amnesty International, 304 people were killed. At home and abroad, the Shia coalition, which Iran had built up with immense effort since the 1979 revolution, was falling apart. The Iranian state and its two most powerful regional allies, Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Hashd al-Shaabi, or Popular Mobilization Forces in Iraq, were losing their legitimacy as defenders of their communities and the opponents of foreign interference in their countries. The Iranian leadership faced a political crisis long before President Trump ordered the assassination by American drone of Soleimani at Baghdad airport on the 3rd of January. Trump ignored the old military saying, "Never interrupt your enemy when he is in the middle of making a mistake," at a time when Soleimani and those who thought like him in Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon had made a grave misjudgment in choosing violent repression to deal with opponents of the political status quo. As the largest crowd since the funeral of Ayatollah Khomeini in 1989 filled the streets of Tehran and other cities to mourn Soleimani, senior members of the Iranian government appeared astonished by a renewed sense of national solidarity. Demands by demonstrators that the government stop wasting money on foreign adventures like those organized by Soleimani were replaced with cries for vengeance against the U.S. Since he withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal in 2018, the purpose of Trump's Iran policy and, crucially, the imposition of sanctions has been to ramp up popular pressure on the Iranian leadership, forcing them to give in to U.S. demands if they want to stay in power. There was strong evidence that this approach was working until the Soleimani killing revived support for the government in Tehran. But Trump is not the only leader who makes unforced errors. Just when the Iranian government was riding a wave of reawakened nationalism, an Islamic Revolutionary Guard unit near Tehran airport shot down a Ukrainian passenger aircraft, killing all 176 passengers, including 82 Iranians and 63 Canadians. The Revolutionary Guards lied about their responsibility for the incident for 3 days, until finally admitting that the crew manning the anti-aircraft missile battery had mistaken the civilian plane for a U.S. cruise missile. Within hours, demonstrators were back in the streets of Tehran and other cities, but this time they were shouting anti-government slogans, demanding the punishment of the Revolutionary Guard commanders and blaming the regime for everything that had gone wrong. Student protesters chanted, "Guards, you are our dictator. You are our ISIS," while others called for the resignation of the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, and an end to 40 years of clerical rule. Iranians noted that their military had taken great care not to kill any Americans in retaliation for the death of Soleimani when they fired ballistic missiles on the 8th of January at U.S. bases at Erbil and Ain al-Assad in Iraq. They asked why their generals did not pay equal attention to keeping their own people alive. Iran is a deeply polarized